Squirrel Murphy, and Senior Chief, United States Navy Seabees. And I got into a reserve unit, and that was at the time, matter of fact, way back then, I think they called them RNMCBs, Reserve Naval Mobile Construction Battalions. And that was 23, and that was an East Coast battalion. Was in that for quite a few years, and then about around 1979 or somewhere around in there, it could have been 80, 79 I think it was, they changed the districts, you know, and all their wisdom, they know how to shift you around, so they split us up, and we were attached to our NMCB 20 out of Columbus, Ohio. And so stayed with them for a long time, in about all the way up until about I'm not really sure, 91 maybe, or 92. It was after Desert Storm, and they decommissioned 20, and they split us all up, and at that time they put us with 24 down in Huntsville, Alabama, at Redstone Arsenal. So I shifted down with Redstone and continued my time with them. Probably right about the time, it was right after 9/11. Well, probably within a few days of 9/11, they sent me down to Redstone Arsenal, and we did some work down there and beefed up security and stuff. And then after that, they sent me to Greece, and we went there, and basically that was beefing up security for the bases. We built, added on, we made a fence. It was about a 6-foot chain link fence, and we took it up to about 15 feet or a little taller. And we put concrete around so they couldn't dig under, and we built concrete protectors for telephones and electrical connections and things like that. So just basically security. And they had us going all around the world doing those kind of things, beefing up different places. Then in October 1st of 2002, they sent me over to be with Central Command, and I was there with, I was several things, wore a hat. Facilities Engineering Chief for NAVCENTCOM, the 5th Fleet. So we had like 25 countries in the 5th Fleet that we worked with. Now basically I traveled throughout a lot of those countries at where we had naval facilities or air bases or even Air Force bases, actually, because usually there's always Navy is involved, you know. So I traveled around doing that along with other confidential things. It was pretty exciting. The Admiral, I did a little bit of Naval Protective Services around, taking care of the facilities, doing errands and things for, it was Admiral Keating, down 3-star Admiral, and I was also his safety chief. And I had no idea that that was really coming. It just kind of the opportunity, they said. So I went there and did all that stuff, and that was pretty, you know, it was exciting. During that period of time, I contacted, in some of my travels to some of those countries, I contacted TB, and I was confined in a hospital for a little over a month in quarantine until I could test positive. And that was a pretty trying time too, caught in a foreign country. And I was having trouble. I couldn't get a phone. I finally paid some people to get me some phone wire, and I talked them into running this phone line down and hooking it into the nurse's station. And they were so worried it was going to be long-distance phone calls. But I told them I just wanted to call the base. And so what I did was I called out and got with the operator, and the operator connected me to the base, since it wasn't a long distance to the nearest base there at there in Manama. It's in Bahrain, the country of Bahrain. So once we got it hooked up to the base, then the base was able to send me over to comms, and then they would get me hooked up with DSN, and I could call Fort Knox, and then from Fort Knox I could call home. So if I called where my wife taught, it didn't cost me anything. And if I called home, of course it just cost me long distance, Fort Knox, Kentucky up to Indiana. So I was able to finally get in touch with my wife and kind of ease her fears and things. So I came back, and then I had a variety of assignments. I was at Camp Lejeune, a building project there, and then I was doing some instructor duty at Fort Knox, and eventually they put me on some instructor duty down at Camp Shelby and Gulfport, Mississippi, and we had people that was heading over to the war, and so I was doing a little job of training them and everything then, and then they told me I was going to go back, and I said, whoa, I've already been overseas twice, you know, and they said, well, we need you. And so I guess actually they were a little short on some personnel, especially like officers, a lot of young officers not real well experienced, and so they took me over there and they put me as OIC of a unit that was out along the Syrian border. And so probably about 4 months or so out along the Syrian border. Then I went back to help them out at Al-Assad. They were trying to beef up one of the runways. And we had a crew that ran around the clock. I took the evening shift from 6 in the evening till 6 in the morning and ran that shift. And so we got that beefed up. We had to cut a 40-inch wide gap in the airstrip and chip it all out. And then we had to put slip bars in there so we could do an expansion joint, and we had to end up pouring that back full of concrete. So it was a pretty big job. It kept us pretty busy. Then they moved me up to Al Kahim, which was right up on the Syrian border, up around Camp Gannon, and we built some things there for the Iraqi army, so they would have a base, and they were trying to get them put up there so they could take over handling the security around the border. And that was a pretty wild time too. Had a lot of convoys. Both of those assignments, you were way out in the middle of nowhere, and it wasn't real great. But anyway, then eventually I ended up getting injured, so they ended up sending me to Landstuhl, Germany, and I got to Landstuhl, Germany, and then they sent me back to Bethesda, where I underwent a series of operations, and that was September of 2005, and I've pretty much been in the hospital ever since then, but they finally retired me January the 5th of 2007.